We're kicking things off tonight with the race to 2016. Democrat Bernie Sanders pulled ahead of Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire this week. We'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. But first, the unusual case of Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. He spent the past week staking a claim as the Republican candidate ready and willing to stand up to Donald Trump. But as Adam Riley shows us, today in New Hampshire, it was a totally different story.
There's a standard operating procedure for presidential candidates in New Hampshire. You pick a business, chat up the locals, give a speech, and then meet the press. But today in Portsmouth, Rand Paul took a different tack.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to have you.
How are you? Hey, thanks for coming out.
Nice to meet you.
You guys in school?
Yep.
At the bakery Popovers on the Square, Paul spent plenty of time shaking hands, snapping pics, and even giving career advice.
You like school?
Yes.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, that's good. But be something good first. Be like a doctor or an engineer or a computer software person. Be something, make something.
But then, after he finished working the room, he just left.
Thanks a lot.
That diffidence was especially odd given how aggressive Paul has been with GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. He went after Trump hard in last week's Fox News debate.
He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay?
And yesterday, Paul rolled out an ad outing Trump as a closet liberal.
It just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
A liberal in health care.
Hillary Clinton, I think, is a terrific woman.
As Paul walked away, a pack of journalists chased him down the street, where we were able to get one question in. Have you received any response to your new Donald Trump ad?
I think there's a lot of voters who are eventually going to ask some difficult questions, and the questions are, is Trump really a conservative, or is this all a put-on or a show or an act? Donald Trump was for Obamacare before he was against it. He was a Democrat before he was a Republican. He was for single-payer system, universal health care.
Now, there's been this strange dynamic throughout the Republican primary where things you think are going to hurt Donald Trump actually end up helping him. The question now is whether Rand Paul's attacks are going to work or whether they'll backfire.
Sometimes if you go after another candidate, it doesn't work out as well for you. And you know Trump's going to come back with something too, so it's going to be back and forth, and that might take away from the message that Rand Paul's trying to get out there.
I wanted to ask the candidate himself about that possibility, but today in Portsmouth,
one more question for you. Concerned it might backfire at all?
That wasn't possible.
Rand Paul isn't the only one taking on Trump these days. On my Boston Public Radio show earlier today, Governor Charlie Baker took a pretty hard stand on Trump's comments about women.
Well, I was raised by my parents, in a certain way, and I find a lot of those comments to be reprehensible, outrageous, and ridiculous. And I wish he would take them back.
Joining me now are the guy in that report, Adam Riley. Good to see you. Along with Shannon O'Brien, former state treasurer, candidate for governor, current Clinton supporter, and Ernie Bach Jr., the head of Bach Enterprises, who's hosting a fundraiser for Trump later this month. Ernie, it's great to see you. We'll get to you in a minute. I just want to get this out of the way. I got the poll was running away, but why? Why?
I don't really know. This was the end of a 3-day swing he made in New Hampshire, so maybe he's tired out. He took one question. There were a bunch of us there. He didn't want to take any more. And it's interesting watching him, just really briefly. I felt like I was watching a profoundly introverted guy try to run for president, which I'm not used to seeing. The way he moved through the room, very contained, quiet in his conversation, not much physicality, and then running away from the press after without giving a stump speech.
Let me go to another profoundly introverted guy, if I can. So why is this guy coming to your house for dinner? Why are you throwing a fundraiser for Trump?
Well, I think I like a lot of what he says. Not all what he says. I think the remarks that he makes against women are not right. I think he shoots from the hip a little bit too much. But I like his economic views. I think if you put all the candidates out, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party, who are you going to hire to get us out of debt? Who would get us out of this $18 trillion debt? I think he's the man.
Yeah, but in the words of, I think you can relate to this, the Moody Blues, is he real or an illusion? You saw that Rand Paul thing. He was pro-choice, now he's pro-life. He liked the Affordable Care Act. Hillary Clinton, what was the word he used? Hillary Clinton is doing a good job. Now she's the worst Secretary of State in history. Yeah. How do you know what you see is what you get?
I think I find him sincere in wanting to fix the U.S. economy.
Shannon, before I get to you, let's look at some polls. He's winning absolutely everywhere. He tells you that all the time. Nationally, New Hampshire, Iowa, Michigan, Nevada, South Carolina, on and on and on. I know people, particularly Democrats, don't like to say, you know, he's just this loudmouth, bloviating, not him, I'm talking about Donald Trump, this loudmouth, bloviating guy. He's racist, he's this, he's that. There's some there. Is he not connecting with people in ways that your candidate, Hillary Clinton, we'll get there in a minute, is not? There's outrage about something going wrong, and he's bottling it.
People like entertainment. He's entertaining. I mean, even when he is saying some of these crude, insulting things, you have people laughing and thinking it's hilarious. So I certainly think
every
that
single person in Cleveland seemed to laugh at the Rosie O'Donnell line.
They all laughed.
It was funny,
well, I have to say, a lot of people laugh too until you caught yourself.
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, even if you don't like what he's saying, your jaw is dropping because you can't believe he's saying it. So it is a little bit like an extension of a reality television show. You don't really want to tell your friends that you like watching reality television, but I watch reality television.
But you're not willing to acknowledge even this much. This guy is connecting to anger with what's wrong in Washington.
I think that there's an anger out there right now. And I think that a lot of conservative talk show hosts and conservative candidates have pitted sort of white middle-class people, lower middle-class people against immigrants. And I think that this immigrant issue is resonating. And you know, to quote Jeb Bush, or I think it was Jeb Bush or Kasich, I forget who said it.
They're all the same, those white guys, I know,
but he struck a nerve. And I do think that there's a real issue that he's focusing on, and people
I interrupted
are reacting.
you, Adam.
Oh, no, I interrupted you. I was trying to interrupting Shannon, interrupting.
Okay, 1 second.
I just want to say,
have you seen Rand Paul before? Has he been that
I have not seen him before.
I
was just going to add, I don't think it's only Democrats who want to say, you know, Trump, there's nothing really going on there. There's not genuine support. I feel like, you know, we were on with Jennifer Braceras recently, and she was trying to say, oh, he's just, you know, he's a fringe character. Don't pay him any attention. And I think that, you know, for the Republicans, it's important to acknowledge that a certain part of their base really likes what he has to say. And then there's also the whole, you know, he's not an ordinary politician. He tells it like it is dynamic, which every time he goes, you know, sort of way out somewhere that we can't believe he's going, it reinforces the narrative that, well, he's not bound by the same lame conventions that these other guys
Ernie,
are.
you said a minute ago you like where he is in business, the economy, and that sort of stuff. Are you making a statement, and is he just making a statement, or do you actually believe this guy could get somewhere in this race?
He is getting somewhere in this race, and whether he wins or not, I don't know. But what I like about the gentleman is that he doesn't talk like most of the politicians. And I'm 57 years old. I've never seen any candidate, national candidate, fund it with their own money, ever. Has it ever been done? I don't think it's ever been done.
Well, there have been some really wealthy people.
Happened a little bit in Massachusetts a few years ago, but anyway, I can't.
What do you know about that?
Romney raised millions and millions and millions and millions.
No, it's true.
Trump
he did raise
isn't doing that.
He
He's not doing that.
Million, but he mostly spent a lot of his money. But if I can just respond to
Sure,
Ernie,
quickly.
I actually will agree with Donald Trump. The economy does better under Democrats. You look at the statistics, you look at the figures. You've had Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, any number of presidents. The best economy that this country generally has is under a Democratic president.
See the Republican numbers on him in the economy in Iowa? It's like plus 48% over
sure.
the field. You know, the other side of the presidential race is obviously heating up a lot more than anticipated, with Bernie Sanders recently overtaking Hillary Clinton in the latest poll out of New Hampshire. And he has not been shy about taking her on directly. Here he is in April.
I'm not going to raise $1 billion. My support comes from small individual contributors, not millionaires and not billionaires.
Do you not believe that Hillary Clinton is out for the little guy, that she wants to be the champion that she said she wanted to be in her Facebook announcement?
Why don't you tell me what Hillary Clinton is campaigning on? Do you know? You don't know, and I don't know, and the American people don't know.
I think he was talking to you a little bit in there, Ernie.
He fascinates
So
me,
does he have, is there not some sort of odd appeal from you to him?
For me, no.
Why?
I would never vote for him, but he's definitely interesting.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so while he's ahead in New Hampshire, and we can pop this stuff up, he's still getting crushed in Iowa, even though his numbers are coming up. 70 to 80,000 people show up at 3 rallies on the West Coast. Could Hillary Clinton, your candidate?
100,004.
Could Hillary Clinton do that? It's your candidate. Could she pull that kind of crowd?
Can I tell you, I think that, and I've said this before, on the left and the right, the people who create the most heat and light are people like Bernie Sanders. And they're the ones who I think are also driven by the technology which can drive these crowds very easily, which is the internet, which is your mobile phone. Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama to a certain extent, but more so Bernie Sanders, because now the technology has caught up with the elections. He can drive crowds like no one I've ever seen.
I think
Hillary Clinton doesn't appeal to that.
This is not I'm not the first person to say this. I think there's a lot of similarity between the guy that's going to his house for dinner and Bernie Sanders.
I totally agree.
No
I
scripts.
agree.
And I remember
no
talking with
overmanaged.
I think the Rockingham County, New Hampshire chair of Trump's campaign, I think his name's Lou Gargiulo, and he made that exact same
What'd he
point.
say?
He said, I see Sanders as the equivalent of Trump, but on the left, he indicates his success, shows that there's this hunger for authenticity that's out there for people who do not talk like ordinary politicians, do the things ordinary politicians do.
Do you have a knee-jerk kind of thing, Ernie Bach, that if you're a Democrat, you can't be somebody who's good on business and the economy? Do you think?
No, I think everybody's an individual. I've voted for Democrats, Republicans.
Bill Clinton was good for the economy, was he not?
Bill Clinton was amazing for the economy.
So what is it, if we can just mix these Democrats and Republicans up, what specific, other than the fact that he's a business person, he's loaded, what specifically is it that Trump's done on the economic front that convinces you, other than rhetoric, he's going to take on China? In the meantime, his Trump ties are made in China. What's the content?
If you take the history of all the other candidates, what other candidates have run such a major organization and generated so much cash and just did so well in business? He's the only one.
I think you're the other one who's done that. Is that not true?
I mean, if you put them all together and said, who is going to get us out of this debt? I think he's the only one.
So last thing on this, if I can, and your thing is on the 28th, everybody's, no, they're not invited. In any case, does the language, do the crude edges, do those things, they're all insignificant next to the message to you?
I don't agree with a lot of that type of thing.
But you're willing to tolerate it?
I'm willing to tolerate it.
And they just confirmed that he's not what people, he's what everyone thinks, not your ordinary politician. They
immune to all the rules.
Yep.
Adam Riley, it was a great package. Good to see you. Shannon
Thank you.
O'Brien, nice to see you. Ernie Bach,
Thank
Jr.,
you, Jim.
it's been a long time. Great to see you, Ernie.